Okay, so let's just jump right in. Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and today we've got a pretty intense situation to look at.
Hey everyone, I'm the resident expert here, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely an intense one.
Right, so our focus today is the August 23, 2026 Wildfire Report from the Daily Tech Reader. And okay, so just to set the stage, right now, literally right now, there are about 270 firefighters from Australia and New Zealand flying halfway across the planet.
Right, heading to Oregon.
Exactly, heading to Oregon. And why? Because the U.S. is just, I mean, we're currently losing this massive battle against, I think it's over 50,000 separate blazes.
Yeah, over 50,580 to be exact. And it sounds like the premise for a disaster movie, right?
Yeah.
But this is the reality we're in. We're looking at over 7.7 million acres burned so far this year.
Wow. And you know, our mission in this deep dive isn't just to read off these crazy, staggering statistics. We really want to understand the monumental logistical machine that's deployed to fight something this colossal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you look at a blaze like Oregon's big grass fire,
Oh, that one is just massive.
right, it's nearing 579,000 acres. You aren't just spraying water on trees at that point. You have to supply and manage a footprint the size of a sprawling mega city, except this city is actively trying to destroy everything in its path.
And that scale is exactly why the U.S. is currently sitting at what they call Preparedness Level 5.
Right.
Which is the absolute highest level on the national scale. It basically means that domestic firefighting resources are completely exhausted. So it triggers these emergency protocols to bring in federal, military and international reinforcements.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because I was looking at that deployment roster, and it reads way more like a joint military operation than a forestry department report.
It really does.
We've got 22,000 personnel deployed nationwide. And so besides those teams from down under, there are 240 Army soldiers from Joint Base Lewis McChord physically on the ground at the Little Giant Fire in Washington.
Right.
I mean, are we basically running a joint military international operation just to manage domestic fires?
What's fascinating here is, yeah, essentially we are. They've also mobilized military C-130 air tankers across California and Oregon.
Oh, wow.
So these aren't just, extra hoses. This is heavy aviation hardware being repurposed just to keep these fires from entirely overrunning established boundaries.
But wait, if we have military aircraft and thousands of international personnel jumping into the fray, why do we still have 79 large fires that are completely uncontained? I feel like that amount of hardware should be making a bigger dent.
Well, hardware is useless if the atmosphere is aggressively working against you.
Right.
So the report highlights these two massive weather systems acting as the dual accelerant. First, there's an upper trough moving into Montana,
Okay.
which is an elongated area of low atmospheric pressure that creates intense instability in the air. So it pulls moisture up really rapidly, but that moisture just evaporates before it ever hits the ground.
No, I see. So
Yeah.
get all the lightning, but absolutely none of the rain.
That is the exact definition of a dry thunderstorm. It acts as nature's spark plug.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hitting right as the southwest and southern plains are just baking in like 100 to 115-degree heat.
Man, it's like Mother Nature is pointing a giant industrial blow dryer at a sandbox.
That's a perfect way to put it, actually, because the relative humidity in those areas has also plummeted to between 8 and 20%.
And at 8% humidity, a forest isn't just dry. Like, the moisture is literally baked out of the wood, turning the vegetation into something chemically volatile.
Right. That pre-baking is the core issue here. Ambient heat and wind dry out the fuels ahead of the actual flame front. That's the mechanism behind those terrifying fire behaviors the report mentions, like group torching.
Where entire clusters of trees just ignite simultaneously, right?
Exactly. And active uphill runs, because fire naturally moves faster uphill since heat rises.
Right, drying the fuel above it as it goes.
Yep. So when the humidity is in the single digits, an uphill run is practically unstoppable.
You know, when we see reports of group torching and active uphill runs, it really makes me wonder about the very concept of containment. Like, are these crews actually stopping the fire, or are they just trying to survive its momentum and maybe steer it away from towns?
At Preparedness Level 5, it is largely about steering the beast. You just can't outmuscle a fire behaving like that.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where those military C-130s come back into play.
Okay.
The weather data literally dictates the chessboard. Fire commanders aren't just looking at where the fire is now. They're sending those air tankers to where the atmospheric instability will push it tomorrow.
Which really brings the threat much closer to home for anyone listening, I think, even if you don't live anywhere near a national forest.
Yeah.
Because we tend to think of wildfires as a purely environmental tragedy, right?
Mm.
But the report explicitly points out that California as MP18 fire and New Mexico as Frijoles fire are threatening vital communications infrastructure.
And this happens because these fires are chewing through the wildland-urban interface, which is that critical transition zone where human development pushes right up against untouched nature.
Right.
And we've built massive tech infrastructure right through those zones. We're talking cell towers, power grids, and crucial fiber optic lines.
So what does this all mean? I mean, a fire 3 states away from you could suddenly throttle your local data network or take down regional communication systems entirely.
Yeah, the digital world burns just as fast as a pine forest when it's in the path of a level 5 fire.
It really shatters the illusion that our digital infrastructure is somehow insulated from the physical elements.
It definitely does.
And it leaves us with an incredibly sobering thought to mull over. Right now, we rely on Australian and New Zealand teams flying across the globe to act as our safety net. But as shifting weather patterns disrupt historical norms, what happens to our defense strategy if these global wildfire seasons start to overlap, leaving absolutely no international backup available?